All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Sifting Reclaiming Authenticity episode number 61. My name is Jonah. I'm here with my wife Lindsay. Lindsay, what's hoppin'?
Rabbits.
Rabbits. Funny because I'm going to talk about Rabbit from Winnie the Pooh today. So that's
Okay.
that actually really that ties in very well to one of the things that I had on here to talk about. So that's really good foreshadowing, actually. Anyway, I don't know why I said that. Yeah, rabbits are hopping. Yeah, today is Sunday, April 27th. This is episode number 61. We are happy to be here chatting with you guys. We have some cool stuff that we are going to talk about today. Really like our topic today. It's one that I've been thinking about a lot. It's one that I feel like I have a lot to say about just because it's something that I don't feel like gets talked about a lot. I like talking about things that... Why are you laughing? Why are you giggling at me?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I just thought you were going to stop it. I like talking about things.
I like talking about things. No, you know what's super funny? Um, I've told a couple people this. The other day, Lindsay, we were sitting down. I think we were having dinner, and you were like, Jonah, I'm glad that you're into books, but when you talk about books, that's when you go a little bit too far sometimes. Was that what you said? Or you said
I
I'm
don't
not.
know.
You said it's cute that I like books, but it's not cute
It's
that I.
great that you like books.
But it's not cute that I like to talk about books.
No, you can talk about them all you want. You just have to be aware that my brain is like, do 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 do.
Yeah, your brain is a meme. Your
I
brain
have
is a meme.
trouble focusing.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, this is the sifting, as I've said for like the third or fourth time now. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, as you know, because you're listening to this. We are on Facebook, Instagram, primarily those two. You can interact with us there. Follow, like, share, dislike, tell us that we suck, tell us that we are awful people and we don't know what we're doing. That's fine. I mean, I've had my share of telling people that in the past. No, I haven't. No, I haven't. I've never done that. Yeah, we appreciate any sort of engagement or involvement. That kind of stuff is really cool to us. You know, we're just, like I've said before, we don't do this for a job. This is not our full-time occupation. This is just something fun that we do together because we like having these types of conversations and we like talking about this sort of stuff, and we feel like it's beneficial for other people to hear it and other people to like form their thoughts and share their opinions about it as well. And so that's kind of what we do here. We don't talk, we're not ambassadors. We don't talk for a church is what I'm trying to say, or an organization or a ministry or anything like that. This is all just me and Lindsay, us alone with our thoughts, expressing them to you. All right, cool. What have we been up to? I feel like we've been up to a lot, actually. Well, a lot for us. I feel like we're pretty calm. We don't have like an insane amount going on at any given time, but we have done some pretty cool stuff. Friday night, we saw the 20th anniversary re-showing of Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith, which is great. Well, it was a great time. The movie itself, I mean, like, I'm trying to find the right words to say. It's got a certain charm to it. None of the Star Wars prequel movies are outstanding films, in my opinion. I wouldn't call it amazing, but here we go. I'm going to get, like, attacked by someone on the internet. This clip is going to be, like, pulled and taken out of context. Star Wars people online are nuts. They're crazy. And I get it. You love your thing. Like, I totally get that. Like, you're very passionate about it. You've invested a lot of yourself in it. I totally understand that. The prequel movies, in retrospect, are not great films, but they have a certain charm to them, and you can just kind of feel the heartfelt passion behind them, even if not everything about them works out. I mean, it's like Why are, you're giggling at me a lot?
Well, what do you think is worse, the prequels or the sequels?
Oh, the sequels, 100%. Yeah, I for years I said that the first sequel movie was one of my favorite Star Wars films, and now I feel like an idiot for saying that. It's totally not in retrospect, knowing how like the rest of that trilogy panned out. Definitely not. And even though the prequels aren't amazing, you can tell that there's like passion behind it, and that they actually were trying, even though the acting is like as wooden and stiff and awkward as you could possibly imagine. And George Lucas discovering CGI was like a kid discovering candy. Like, even though it's got its quirks and things about it that are just always not going to be good, I don't know. I feel like I've come around to them a little bit more. I've accepted that they're never going to be great, but like, I don't know, for me they're always going to be fun. I don't know. Did you have a good time at it, Lindsay? You liked it? What was your favorite part? Did you have one?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
You don't know? You probably liked that moment where Anakin and Obi-Wan were about to fight at the end, and Anakin's like, "If you're not with me, you're my enemy." That's some really bad acting. Hayden Christensen's great, but yeah, he didn't have the best script.
My favorite part is when Mace Windu comes in to challenge Palpatine, and he has 3 other supposed Jedi Masters with him.
Yeah.
And they all 3 get instantly smoked.
Yeah.
They're like, whoa!
And it's funny because they all instantly die to this dude who like clearly looks like he's never held a prop in his life before, and he's just like whacking his lightsaber around. Yeah, yeah, that's really good, fun. I watched a review online, and like a retrospect, and the top comment said my favorite part is when Mace gets thrown out the window. Which is so good. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen this 20-year-old Star Wars movie.
The Windu.
The Windu. Oh my gosh. It's great. God bless. God bless Star Wars. Oh boy. Last night we had a lot of fun. We went to see the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra perform Mahler's Sixth Symphony, called Tragic. It's just tragic. No, it was great. It was an awesome time. I love classical music. Some people may not know that about me. I really, really appreciate classical music, and I enjoy it quite a lot. Gustav Mahler is one of my favorite composers. I love everything that I've heard from him. And so getting to hear a Mahler symphony live was pretty cool. I know nobody may care about that besides me, but I'm just saying. You had a good time at that last night too, Lindsay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had a hard time parking, but yeah. Show was awesome. Show was great. You played French horn back in middle school?
Many moons ago.
Was it middle school or high school? Both? You did both? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you just did middle school. Oh.
Well, wait, I'm trying to remember. I tried my hand at violin, and I hated violin. Violins suck.
Whoa. I'm going to stop you there. I disagree with that.
I suck at violin. Violins don't suck. It's not for me. And then I moved to trumpet. So I was probably playing trumpet in middle school. And then I went to French horn.
Then you found your home.
At some point in middle school.
Yeah, you found your home in French horn. I'm a percussionist, which means that I couldn't play any other instrument, so I just got kind of thrown in percussion. No, just kidding. No, it was so funny because I remember, I'm talking too long about this now. It was so funny because I remember in middle school when I started playing music, they did band signups, and they asked people to write down what instrument that they wanted to play. And a huge portion of my class, like my entire 5th grade class going into 6th grade, wanted to do band. We were only 100 people in our class. And so, what's funny is, I mean, at least half of us, if not maybe up to 60 of us, wanted to be in band. And I would say 80% of the people signed up for percussion. And so they begged people, they begged kids to be like, can you please play something else other than percussion? Because we can't have 45 percussionists. And a lot of kids switched instruments, but I did not. I was set that that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to play the drums. I wanted to smack things, which, is great. And I don't regret it because I absolutely love drumming. And I miss concert drumming, orchestral drumming. It's fun. Anyway, I've talked way too long about this. We're going past my 10-minute limit for bantering at the beginning. But we've had a pretty good time. Done a couple things. I'm gonna mow the grass later today, so I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, episode number 61. I called this Cult of Personality, like the song. Lindsay had never heard that song before, which I was really surprised. I swear I thought we've listened to that before, but we didn't. I enjoy titles for episodes that are like names of music or names of music, tragic. Names of like movies, books, that kind of thing. I really like that sort of, I don't want to call it a gimmick, but that sort of like titling. I think that's pretty cool. So I'll probably end up doing that. More. Like just naming things off of like.
It's because we like puns.
It is because we like puns.
Yeah, we watch Bob's Burgers, and we're like, these are the best named things ever because they're all puns.
Yeah, if you like animated shows, Bob's Burgers is a really good one. Not always like it can be crude sometimes, but it's also pretty heartwarming. Anyway, there's a little plug for Bob's Burgers. Anyway, where was I at? Yeah, Cult of Personality. So I want to like spend some time chatting today about the 4 major personality types and kind of how they are seen in the church, how they operate in the church, why we need them, talking about the strengths and the weaknesses of each one. And I think it's cool if like you're listening to this and you've maybe never thought about this before. You might actually be able to like identify kind of which personality type you most fall in line with. And I think that's a good indicator of the kind of things that like you will find success in. Because there are certain things that like a type A person is going to be very successful in that a type D person or a type B person is not going to find that kind of success in. Or there's something that a type C person might be really great at doing that a type A person really struggles to do. So it's cool. We'll talk about all of that today. And I think it's great because we are all wired very differently. We believe and have a conviction that like we were created all uniquely and wonderfully. We were uniquely, wonderfully made, as the psalmist says. And so, believing that, I think that trying to repress our personality is not always great for us. But trying to really discover how we're wired, how we think, how we behave, that can be really beneficial to us. So, why is understanding personality important in the church? Well, I think that question is presupposed. I think I used the right word there. Presupposed by another one. Why is it important for us individually to understand personality? Is that the right use of that word? Presupposed?
Sure.
We're gonna assume it is. Yeah, we'll say yes. There's probably gonna be some like English major that ends up hearing this and tells me I'm wrong, which I don't know. I might be. I'm not wrong. No, I think that's right. So I think that sometimes we hold to a theology that diminishes humanity, when in reality, like I said, We were each created uniquely with a specific with a specific skill set, specific strengths that are beneficial to us and the people around us. And I think that when we suppress who we are, I think we do a disservice to the way God made us. And of course, that isn't to say that like heart change and the work of going through heart change is nullified, but rather once we have a new heart, we're free to become who we were created to be. So I don't necessarily think that the way we were created and discovering how we were created nullifies and does away with the fact that we need changed and that we need our hearts to be altered, that we need a brand new heart. It doesn't do away with the kind of work that like the gospel does when you believe the gospel and when you accept Jesus. What happens to you and the changes that you go through are good and necessary and healthy. And I think that until you've had that moment, it's very hard to identify who you are as a person and what kind of personality you have. I think it's only when we go through like the general heart change of the gospel that we are really free to discover who we are and the kind of personality that we have, the personality that we've been gifted with. So I want to make that like abundantly clear. Like as we are talking today about, the different personality types, I just want to make it known that it doesn't necessarily get rid of and it doesn't do away with the need of parts of us having to change. There are parts of us that do not align with the character, parts of us that do not align with like the morality or the will of Christ that need to come into a certain submission to that. That we need to have a certain transformative experience that changes those parts of us. And so certainly there are parts of us that need to change, but there are also parts of us that were made very specifically that we may not come into awareness of or a healthy awareness of until we have accepted Jesus as Lord and Savior and really put an entire faith behind him. Does that make sense? Is what I'm saying make sense? Yeah. Yeah. So then when we've kind of settled that why personality is important, we can answer the question of why, or I guess when we settled the question of why it should be important to us, we can answer the question of why it's important in the church as a whole. So, last night I talked about us going to see the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra. And what's great is when you go see the orchestra, there are, if you've never been to it before, if you're not familiar with it, there are multiple sections of an orchestra. So there's a string section. And within the string section, you have violins, you have violas, cellos, the bass, harp. There's a brass section with French horns, trumpets, tubas, trombones. There's a woodwind section where there are flutes, oboes, clarinets, piccolos. I like to call that the least important section. I'm just messing.
You forgot bassoons.
And the bassoon, right.
And the bassoon on steroids.
That
I forgot what it's called.
Yeah, I did too. Bass, not the bass clarinet.
Yeah, it is. It's something bass clarinet.
Something bass clarinet. Contrabass?
Maybe.
That sounds right, yeah. I'm probably wrong about that too. I could be, I don't know. And then there's the percussion, which is the best section, where you just smack things. But in the percussion section, there are various instruments, right? There's the timpani, the bass drum, the snare drum, the mallet instruments, the triangle. different auxiliary instruments. So uh, when you go to see a symphony orchestra, there are all these different sections. And a symphony is written um, with an expectation that every part of the orchestra will be able to work together in. So even though a main melody may be played by a subsection in the strings, let's say the violins, that's, very popular. Even if the violins have a melody, there is a bass line or there is a rhythmic line that also needs to be taken care of by another section. And if that rhythmic line is not played, then it's going to make the melody feel very lifeless. It's going to make the melody feel floaty, like it doesn't have a grounding, like it doesn't have a foundation. And so every part of a symphony orchestra is important, because if only one part is missing from any specific piece, it's not going to sound the way that it's intended to, right? And some parts are a lot more active than others. There are some percussion instruments that might just need to play once or twice in an entire 60 to 90 minute piece. Some parts are very active and they're playing the entire time. And so I think that our roles and our personalities are very similar to that, right? We all are very different. We all are wired very differently. We all play different instruments, so to speak. And we can think that our instrument does not serve a function, that our instrument does not serve a purpose. But without it, the entire group cannot function in a way that it was really designed to function. And so I think that's how the church is. We can think that our role, that our instrument is not important because we may not do as much as another role, or we may think that it doesn't serve as crucial a purpose as something else. But if we don't fulfill and embrace that role, then things are going to feel off. Things are going to feel disjointed. So understanding the personality types helps us find out what elements make up the church's ministerial life, much like the instruments of an orchestra. Or I also wrote down here, taking apart pieces of a car. I have heard about people that, for fun, I guess, take apart cars, and they really enjoy breaking down a car into its many, many, many different pieces. I can think of no greater torture than taking apart a car, but some people really enjoy doing that. And so, if you take even one plug out of a car under a hood, I'm guessing at what I'm talking about because I don't know anything about cars. But if you take even one part, a small part, out from under the hood of a car, the entire thing may cease to function. The battery is by far not the largest part of a car, but if the battery's shot, then your car can't go anywhere. If you get a nail in a tire, you're not going very far. I know that from recent experience.
You could. You're going to destroy your rim, but you could.
You could, yeah. Or it may blow up and, you may go fishtailing off the road. You have one tiny little crack in a windshield, and it can pose a big threat to you as you're driving. So, just like every part of a car being crucial and important to that car operating safely and efficiently, our personalities are like that in the church. So we're going to talk about all four. We're already halfway through, so I kind of need to hurry. All the stuff we're going to talk about, I'm referencing a certain article that I found from a site called OneNote. Or no, sorry, not OneNote. Called Higher Success. And we'll link that in the description. This is my favorite article on personality types that I found online. And I searched for a lot of them. I really, really enjoyed this one. So some of the information I'm pulling is coming directly from that. And we'll link that. So if you're interested, you can check it out as well. Okay, so the 4 major personality types: A, B, C, and D. So we'll start at the beginning. Type A. It's so funny because me and Lindsay have this joke before we record an episode. We're like, think of the goofiest title that you possibly could for this episode. Just the wackiest, goofiest thing possible. And we both said, or no, what did you say? You were like...
well, I said multiple personality disorder.
Multiple personality disorder. What was the other one?
Mine have a tendency to be messed up.
Yeah. That's what makes them goofy. That's what makes them funny. We say that because type A is really not a personality that I think jives with me especially. But presenting kind of what it is important because a lot of people do fall into this category. People, type A are people who are like goal-oriented. They're highly driven people, and they are often very dominant. They often take charge. They're the first one to kind of step up and lead something. They like challenging themselves. They like setting goals for themselves. They like a hard life, is what I'm hearing. Like, they like challenges. They like difficulty, right? And there's a lot of people in our society that are like that. They are constantly looking to better themselves, challenge themselves. They always need a new goal. They always need something to work towards. Now, one thing I really liked about this article is that it will give you an example of a type of each personality type from the Bible, and then next to it, it gives you an example from Winnie the Pooh, which is really random, but that's why I said we're talking about rabbit. So it has a biblical example, and then it has a Winnie the Pooh example. So a good example of a type A from the Bible would be Paul, according to this article. And a good example of type A from Winnie the Pooh is rabbit. Can you see rabbit as a type A person? Like, very meticulous, very like goal-oriented to keep his garden clear. I don't know. But I definitely see it. I definitely see it in Paul. Obviously, you can't like be a missionary to countries all over the world and then write a significant portion of the New Testament without having some sort of like internal drive, an internal motivation. And so Paul kind of exemplifies a very goal-driven, a very results-driven, challenged, oriented personality. Like, Paul was constantly going to the places where the places that there was purposefully going to be difficulty. That's a type A personality, right? They appreciate challenge. They appreciate adventure, risk. That's a big thing for type A people. They like being risky because they view a risky decision as having potential benefits, potential rewards. Even though they know it may not work out in the long term, if it does work out, they know that things are going to be like much better for them in the future if it does. Some things that type A people dislike: stagnancy, comfort, and I thought this was interesting from the article, losing. They absolutely hate losing because it means that whatever they were doing, their system wasn't enough to get them over the hump. And so losing is very hard to overcome for them. And obviously, like I said, they dislike stagnancy because they want change. They feel like if things aren't changing, then things aren't improving. Again, comfort. They don't like comfort because they think when you are comfortable, then you are content. And contentment, I think, is something that type A people struggle with. And contentment is a good thing. But in a type A person's eyes, when you are comfortable, you're not growing. And so those are some things that they dislike. Lindsay, are you a type A person?
I think I have some type A sprinkled in.
You think you have a little bit? Yeah. So like, what do you have any like specific scenarios or situations where you feel like that little bit of type A comes out and is pretty dominant? I feel like in worship ministry, maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I guess like in ministry and at work, like I'm fairly driven to I like to do more and learn more and be given like more and more responsibility. And if that's not happening, I get a little antsy.
Yeah, if you stagnate, it makes you frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like you have to be growing. You have to be continuing to like go upward, forward momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess for me, like I'm pretty heavily a type D personality, which we'll talk about in a minute. For me, the pursuit of like forward momentum seems just to me like a pursuit that can sometimes be done in vain. I understand the reason and the intent behind it, but I just feel like if you're always trying to move forward, it's very tough to, I don't feel like you should want to move forward at the sake of just moving forward. I think there should be something that you can like move forward to get to, but sometimes there's not even like an end goal. Just if progress is the only thing you care about, but you don't know what you are like progressing to, I think that's a problem. And I think that's how people get burnt out is the need to just continually progress, to keep moving forward, to keep going, but not knowing like what you're going towards. That to me is, I think, where that specific type A desire can run into issues. I think that what?
That's why I would call it just like a sprinkling of A within me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get very frustrated if I feel like I'm not moving towards a goal. But like in everyday life, I can be quite lazy.
Yeah. I wouldn't call
like
you
I'm
lazy.
not always
like,
moving.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, definitely. I think some of the downfalls of type A person, I wouldn't call it downfall. I think some of the weaknesses that type A's can have are, they are often, they can be, I don't want to say often, they can be neglectful of like relationships or friendships or hobbies or other healthy things in pursuit of their goals. It's very easy to like neglect your spouse or your kids because you just want to work all the time. You have a goal, you are driven, and it's easy to kind of let your relationships just kind of slip by to achieve that. They are extremely focused, but sometimes I feel like the potential for burnout with type A can get kind of high. They are often, I think, insensitive to other people and the way that other people feel. Relationally, I think, is where the difficulties kind of start to come in with a type A personality. It really revolves around the kind of their interactions with other people and the relationships that they have. Obviously, you don't want, Paul, I think about Paul, he didn't have that problem because he wasn't married, right? So Paul did not have a relationship that he had to balance with his goal-driven life, whereas most people today do. So that's type A. Moving on to type B. Very different from type A because they are relationship-driven. They're the people pleasers, right? They enjoy connecting with others, and they find their purpose in connection with others. Usually pretty extroverted people, right? They need everybody to like them. They want everyone to think of them as a good person. Knowing that there's somebody who does not like them can be pretty debilitating, which I think is a flaw or a weakness of a type B personality, kind of crumbling a little bit, knowing that everyone is not always, a big fan of your personality. So yeah, they enjoy connecting with others. They tend to be dreamers. They have lots of unique ideas. They don't necessarily have the skill set or the ability to map out how they can make that idea happen, which is why type A and type B people are usually really great working together, because type B has the ideas usually, and type A has the map that can get you to the idea. So they're usually very good to kind of pair together on like a project, or pair together in leading a ministry or something like that. So they have lots of unique ideas. Their character matches from the Bible, type B, Peter. I can see that like pretty easily, right? Peter wants everybody to like him. He's very social. He seeks his approval from other people. And the Winnie the Pooh match, Tigger. I can see that also. Tigger, very outspoken, very jubilant, cares a lot about, how other people view him. I think it's funny how him and Rabbit have a lot of tension between them, because Rabbit thinks that Tigger's personality is crazy, and Tigger thinks Rabbit's crazy. Anyway, I'm spending too much time dissecting Winnie the Pooh. So, like, some things that type B people appreciate: enthusiasm. They like people who are very enthusiastic about what they're doing because it matches their enthusiasm. Connection, teamwork, starting new things, vision casting. These are all very, very important to type B people. Everything they do, they want it to be relational, right? Some things they dislike: they really don't like people who are more non-social, who don't talk as much, or who don't seek the same sort of social approval that they do. They dislike non-appreciation. They really want to be recognized for what they do. They want to feel appreciated for what they do. If they don't have that, they won't continue doing what they do. And appearing weak. Again, they don't want other people to see them as a weak person. They don't want other people to see them as, just a weak person. We'll say that. What's important to them is that others see them as strong, and others see them as enthusiastic and passionate and caring, right? So we can all think of people like that. They can sometimes come off a little bit overwhelming. I think is a good way to identify a type B person. Who's a person that is really great, is very loving, they're a wonderful person, but they come off a little strong sometimes, and they can just come off a little bit much. They're seeking approval from you, I think, is why we feel that way. And other type B people probably recognize that and they can understand it. But people who aren't, when we're like, whoa, this person's like very strong personality, kind of a lot to take in. That person is needing approval. And so that's why they're coming off that way, because that's how they're wired. They need other people to connect with relationally. Are you a type B person, Lindsay?
I think I have next to no type B.
Yeah, me neither.
Like, I appreciate relationships and people, and like, I love the people in my life, but I am not driven by relationships, and I am not driven to seek approval. I genuinely like don't care if people don't like me.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm not I'm not one of those people who's like, I'm gonna say how it is because I don't care if people don't like me, but like it's not what drives me to be liked by everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, type C. I think I'm like 30% type C. I'm mostly type D, but I'm a good portion of type C, I think, as well. These are people who are like logic driven. They aren't swayed by emotions. They aren't swayed by goals or, you know, the kind of things that type A people really are driven by. They're driven by logic, facts. They are very detail oriented, and they're strongly rooted in, like I said, fact, and they embrace a more quiet, thoughtful approach to life. Again, these are often quieter people. They are more introverted. They like to think before they make a decision. They like lots of time before they make a decision. But when they do make a decision, when they do come to a conclusion, you better listen to them because they're going to know what they're talking about because they've spent a lot of time ruminating on this. They've spent a lot of time thinking, analyzing. They're very analytical people. When they speak, it's usually important because they're not going to be the first one to speak. A type B person, probably the first one to speak up in a meeting, right? A type C person, probably the last. And when they speak, you had better listen to what they have to say because they are very rooted in fact. They are rooted in logic, and that is usually a really strong approach to problem solving. These people are really, really gifted and talented at solving issues, at solving problems, knowing kind of what the right thing to do is. Who's the character mentioned in the Bible? The article said Moses, which I don't know. Maybe there's something about Moses' life that I'm missing. But this says that he would be considered like a type C person. So I don't know. Maybe it's because
I mean, it was logical. God is like, you're gonna go talk to Pharaoh, and he's like, I can't even talk though.
I can't even talk though. Yeah, he is logical.
That is illogical.
I think. Okay, so Moses was the one who was entrusted with the Ten Commandments. He's the one that was entrusted with the building of the tabernacle, and that's probably where they get his Type C, like, designation from. Like, he, being so detail-oriented, would make sure that the tabernacle was built the very way that God told him to build it. And Type C people are really, really good at that. They will make sure something is done to the best of their ability, even if it takes them a little more time to do it. They're really good at that sort of thing. So that's probably where this designation comes from. The Winnie the Pooh match, Eeyore. So there you go. Type C people, they appreciate patterns, logic, space to think, and organization. They want things to feel organized. They want space to think. Again, they appreciate logic, and they're very pattern-focused people. Like they see patterns and puzzles and everything, and they excel at taking on that sort of thing and viewing life and viewing issues through that lens. Some things that Type C people dislike: self-centeredness. That's like a main thing that they think of Type B people sometimes, is that they can be very self-centered and very gravitating towards themselves. They don't like distractions, and they do not like emotionally charged decision making. The worst thing for a Type C person is seeing a decision made through emotion instead of logic. That absolutely just like grinds our gears to no other, like no other. Seeing a decision that's made through like strong emotions instead of something that's made through logic. I see people that make emotional decisions, and I'm like, why didn't you sleep on that? If you had just slept on that and thought about it for a little bit longer, you could have made something that made a decision that was a lot better. And obviously, they dislike disorganization as well, because they value things being nice and clean and put together. I think the natural weakness of a type C person is that they often are very resistant to other personality types. I think there's an edge that they have. I think there's an edge that they have that kind of makes them feel like they have the best personality type and the best way to approach things. And they don't have kind of an appreciation and a recognition for what the other personality types bring to the table. So there's a certain level of arrogance there. And I think that they struggle to really work in teams, and they struggle to work in groups, because they have very specific ways that they think. They have specific ways that they want to do things. And I think they can struggle in group settings where they're asked to work alongside people that are going about tasks differently than they are. I don't know. Lindsay, you and I were talking before this, and you think that you have quite a bit of type C, don't you?
I think I'm majority.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see it in like all of the stuff that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're talking about like they're not good at teamwork. I'm like, yeah. I've never had a job where I couldn't just manage myself and do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wouldn't be able to handle it. I just
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like we are the absolute nemesis of the B personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, where other people might be like more welcoming to that, they can be very overwhelming to us.
Mm-hmm.
And where they're like relationship driven, or like type A's, I feel like are more likely to make emotional decisions. Like you said, we like to sit and think about things, and when I've made my decision, it's like a rock solid decision, and I have all of my research
Exactly.
of why I'm doing it, and I can draw a line or cut the cord and like not think twice about it. And some people might think I'm sociopathic,
but you... Sorry, were you finished?
But I've taken a lot of time to think about what I'm doing and gather data, balance options, and
yeah. Well, you talk about just being able to like make the decision and being rock solid in it and not being moved emotionally when that decision is made. And it's almost like your thought process is you've dealt with emotions and you're planning, like in your decision making process already, because you've thought about like the outcome of your decision and the kind of emotions that will come along with that. And it's almost like you have dealt with those emotions already, so that way when the decision comes, you're just locked into the decision. I don't know. Would you say that's accurate?
yeah.
Okay.
And it can make us look like we lack emotion or enthusiasm, but I don't know. we're just like calculating things out rather than reacting in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's why a lot of times when we're doing this, I'll sit there and not say anything for like a solid 15 seconds.
You need to think.
It's like I'm organizing everything up here so that what comes out of my mouth, like, hopefully makes some kind of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And logic.
Yeah. I'm pretty. I think that I do have type C in me, maybe 30 to 40%. But I think the majority of my personality is type D. Now, these are people that are security and safety driven. They are driven by consistency and routine. The character match in the Bible is Abraham. I don't really understand that, honestly. And the Winnie the Pooh match for a type D is the Pooh himself, Winnie. Sorry, I'll never say that again.
What is a poo?
That's true. What is a poo? It's whatever Winnie is. So Winnie the Pooh himself
It's a pantless bear.
It's a pantless bear. That's true.
If a bear is not wearing pants, just a shirt, it's a Pooh bear.
It's a Pooh bear. That's right. A bear that wears a shirt with no pants. Yeah. So good old Winnie the Pooh is a type D personality, right? He loves his routine. He looks forward to his honey. He looks forward to consistency. So type Ds, it sounds, goofy on the surface, but there are certain things that they bring to culture and society that are very important. Type Ds appreciate stability, consistency, routine, expectations, a calm environment. These are all things that are needed in our world. Like, they're all things that are needed in the church very badly. Without type D personalities, there's no consistency. Like, there's no foundation. If you ask a type D person to do something, you know exactly what you're going to get from that person because they do it, they're consistent. So
we lovingly call this the Hobbit personality.
The Hobbit personality. Yes, that is me. They will do things consistently, and they will do things on time because that's what they value. That's what they find to be the most important things in life. Some things that they dislike: surprises. Do not like surprises and their routine and their expectations. If something needs to change, they want to be notified well in advance. That way they can have time and space to adjust to it. They don't like change. They are very, very change resistant. They do not like risk. And generally people who are more dominant or come off strong kind of don't rub well with a type D personality. I can relate to that because I think, the obvious clash here is with a type A personality, right? I think I jokingly told Lindsay before we started that I think type A's disregard for their self-preservation is quite harrowing. And
it's alarming to a type D.
It's alarming to a type D. I'm like, how could you care so little about yourself? Type Ds do not like risk. That's just not their thing. When you have like a risky thing that needs to be done, a type D person is going to say no. They're going to say absolutely not. And there's very, very little chance that they're going to come around on that.
Like a hobbit.
Like a hobbit, exactly. There are obvious weaknesses to a type D personality. They don't like to change. And so they are often like the last people to go through with a change. Sometimes, surprises happen. Sometimes adjustments have to be made. That's very, very hard for a type D person. It's very hard to adjust, to have a schedule change or to have a routine change. To have any sort of change in your life can be very, very hard for a type D person to deal with. And that's a weakness, of course. that kind of holds us back in many ways. But we appreciate what we bring to society, and like I said, type D people are kind of the foundation because they represent consistency. And when you don't have consistency, you don't have a solid foundation. You don't have. They're the kind of people that you can bring a vision to, and they can make it happen. They're the kind of people that when they want to learn something, when they want to start something, they are often the most equipped to do that because their stability and their consistency to keep at it, their ability to create a routine for growth, really allows them to excel at that. Whereas a lot of the other personality types have a hard time mapping themselves out when they have something they want to do. Type D personalities know exactly what to do. They know exactly the kind of routines that they need, the habits that they need to form.
I've got a hobbit on your brain.
The hobbits that they need to form.
The hobbits they need to form.
The habits they need to form. Stuff like that. So, when you look at all four of these personality types in the church specifically, it's so clear to me how like all four of them are needed and how all four serve very different roles. Like, let's go through them. So type A, right? This is a very like entrepreneurial, bless you. That was a cough, not a sneeze. I take back my blessing. Type A personalities, that's a very entrepreneurial personality. It's a very leadership-focused personality. I feel like a lot of church leaders, pastors, missionaries, church planters, these people are often very, very type A personalities. You just can't succeed with a large vision without the drive to make that happen, and without the ability to change, without the ability to adjust, without the ability to make risky choices and decisions and navigate through those things. That's why we need type A people. We can't ever have all of those things in the church without driven people who can make that happen. Type B people who are very relational, I think that's like very evangelistic in a way. They're the people that can win people over to vision, right? So I think like evangelists tend to be very type B people because their whole personality, their whole vision is based around people.
They're great fundraisers, I think.
Yeah. Like making people buy into vision, essentially, right? So they're great communicators, usually. Not always, but they tend to be really great communicators. So like speakers and teachers, these people tend to be very type B. Type C, I think it's also obvious. These are people that can like handle things behind the scenes very well. They are people that know how to keep the cogs running and keep the whole thing from falling apart. Administrative duties, number punching, scheduling, things like that, accounting, specific roles that have to happen behind the scenes for a vision to actually happen and to be produced. Type C people are needed to punch the numbers, essentially, to approach problems and to approach patterns with logic without emotion involved. You need type C people to figure out problems, to get you past hurdles, right? Whereas your type A people just want to blast through the hurdle. Your type C people are saying, let's solve the problem and let's make sure that it's not a problem ever again in the future. How can we safeguard? How can we prevent a problem from happening in advance? And type D people, these people just represent stability. I think that they tend to do really well in like I don't know, what are roles that like type D people are really good at doing? I struggle to think about like within the church specifically, like this personality type excels at.
I think they're hospitality people.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I can see that. You know, hospitality people. I think they bring a lot of heart to a vision.
They like they're good at providing that like secure, like homely feeling that they appreciate to others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, like,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
If they're involved in something, like, they're always going to show up.
Mm-hmm. They're kind of like a wild card. Kind of like they can be a jack of all trades sometimes. Like if they can find something that they can be consistent in, they can do really well at it. Yeah. Yeah. There's a place for us type Ds. We may not find it all the time because we don't like going outside our comfort zone, but hey, there's a place for us. So, yeah, all of these are needed. And what's great is that we are wired in a specific way that when all of these can work together, and you don't have to be like buddy with every personality, but when they're all like connected and wired together, something great can happen. Because you need type A people, you need B people, you need C people, and you need D people. And what's great also is that no person is like a perfect letter personality. Well, there might be some. There might be people who are just very strictly one personality type. But we are often hybrids. Like we can be a little bit of C and a little bit of A. We can be a little bit of D and a little bit of B at the same time, which is wonderful. That's great. It's very rare, I think, to find somebody who is just one thing. Whereas we tend to be a hybrid where we are like 60 to 70% strong in one letter, and then we're kind of 30% of a different letter. So, yeah, this is all really great, and I think it helps us to understand roles better. It helps us to understand how people fit together, like how the church was created and the ways in which personalities within the church were created to work together. I think all that stuff is really fascinating. I think it's all really great. And I think my goal for like this discussion today was just finding out how we're wired and how we can work with people who are very different from us. Because you go sign up for like a ministry, and the chances of everybody being your personality type are 0. So it's important that we know how to work with people. We know how to see the common connecting thread with other people who are very different from us, who approach situations differently, who are wired differently. And I think at the church, what's great is that connecting thread is Jesus, right? It's our faith. Our faith ties us all together. And the personality that we hold under that is different, and it varies from person to person. But as long as we have a connecting thread, then I think, great things can happen. So, Lindsay, any closing thoughts?
I think that what's great about having all of the personalities is that they can really like make up for each other's weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, types C and D can kind of stabilize the charisma of the A's and B's.
Mm-hmm.
And the A's and B's can give C's and D's like a kick of spontaneity that they may need at some points. And like, we're all just making up for, the weaknesses that others possess, while we each like bring a strength to the table also. And like, it makes a complete organization when they're all utilized and are working together. Like, if you just have one person with one personality type that's making every decision for your church without ever consulting another, like you said, like a type A that's just in charge of everything is just gonna want to like blast through every barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up hitting one that they can't get through. And if they don't want to like kind of lean on maybe a connection that a type B can make, where they can find someone who can help them around that wall that they can't just blast through. Or they need like a type C to build something for them to get over that wall. Like, thinking of it metaphorically. If they're making every choice and just never even bothering to include the other personality types, they're gonna hit a wall. And it's gonna be painful, and it's going to be a stop to your ministry, because they didn't want to bring in the strengths of the others that help make up for their own weaknesses.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I think we have a bad habit. I know we need to wrap it up.
You're fine.
I think we have a bad habit of idolizing some personality types and really putting down others. Like, I think of A and D, right? I think A in the church is like, is praised. I think that personality type is what churches want more people to do and what more people to be like. Whereas I feel like D is often looked down upon, right? D is often kind of considered like weak by a lot of church circles. And I wish that like there was some more balance in that.
It's like, because they like stability in the church world, it can be like, oh, ye of little faith.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Right.
When, like, you can have all the faith in the world, but if you jump off a cliff, God's probably not going to save you, because that was a crappy decision.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, so there needs to be, in my opinion, more balance, and we need to stop idolizing some personality types and putting down others. We need them all, and all should be celebrated, and all should be recognized for the strengths and the weaknesses that they have. So, okay, I think that's all I wanted to talk about. Anything left that you want to say? No? All right. You had to think about it because you're type C. You're like, do I need something? Do I have to say something? No, I don't think I do. Okay. Lord, thank you for our time here today, the discussion that we've had. We just pray that it has been an enlightening and thoughtful, thought-provoking conversation that other people can hear, and other people can think about the way that you have made them. And other people can think about the roles and the kinds of things that they can bring to the table and the things that they can excel at. And we pray over everybody listening that they are blessed, that they are taken care of, and that they know that they are loved by you. And in Jesus' name we pray all these things. Amen.
Amen.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to us talk here today. This was an awesome topic. to talk about. It's one that I really enjoy. We will be back in a couple more weeks with another episode, so stay tuned. We're going to be right here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be right here doing.
I mean, we gotta like go do stuff, but we'll be back.
Yeah. We'll be back. We'll have different shirts on, I'm sure. All right. Goodbye, everybody. See ya.